Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Jade and today I'm going to be talking about my February reads. The first book that I read in February. The first book that I read in February was Golden Sun. This is the second book in the Red Rising series. I gave it 5 stars. This book was action-packed. The book started with a bang and ended with this crazy cliffhanger. These books are like roller coasters and there's always something happening. It's amazing how much is like jam-packed in these like shorter books. Like these aren't very long, but so much happens in these books. I don't want to talk too much about the book because it is the second book in the series and it would spoil things that happened in the first, but I thought it was perfect. I really loved it. Like from the first chapter, I was like, oh yeah, this is gonna be a really good book. I'm trying not to rush through the series. I already have the third like with my to be read stack, but I'm trying to slow down with the series. I might read this in May, or not this one, I might read the third in May or June. Trying to decide, but I cannot wait to see what in the world happens in this series after what happens in this book. The second book I read, it was okay. It was From Blood and Ash. I know that this is a very popular like romance-y book. This won a Goodreads Choice Award in like 2021 for Best Romantasy. I wouldn't recommend it. I wish there was more adventure, more action, and less romance, but I know that like that's kind of what this book is, like it's a romantasy. I liked the monsters and the vampires and learning about their world and like the stuff that's going on that's not so great, but the main focus was the romance and it was just kind of a little much. I like a book that if you took all the romance out, it would still be like a really good book. And that's just not what I think this book is. It's just really focused on their story. So I wouldn't recommend it. I was entertained at the start. I almost DNF'd it and then I was like, let me just finish the book. Because I know the second one is supposed to be better than the first. I'm not sure if I'm gonna read the second, but we'll see. It's a 3-star in my opinion. It was okay, but I wouldn't really recommend it. The next book I would 100% recommend. The next book I read was When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker. This is 5 stars. I only saw one person recommend this book on TikTok. I've never heard of it. It is new, but they said that it was better than Fourth Wing if you like dragons, and she said that if you took away all of the like adventure out of the book, that the romance would stand. If you took out all the romance, the adventure would stand, and that sold me. So it's like the writing must be really good for it to not just lean way towards romance to where it's like the main focus, if that makes sense. This is adventure, romance, dragons, a cool magic system, and great banter. Like our characters, you love them. What I really love is that this is not enemies to lovers. It is a romance trope. I think that's what you say. It's a romance trope that I have not read yet. And I really liked it. I loved the whole book. It did not drag. It was a really fun ride, the whole book. I didn't want the book to end. When I reached the end, I was like trying to slow down. It was beautifully written. Like the book, like you could tell like the quality of the writing was really good for this book. When one of these characters was like talking, I didn't realize how long that character was talking. I just didn't want that character to stop because what they were saying was just like, This book left on a cliffhanger. This book was definitely building up the story for what seems like will be a very epic second book. I just can't wait to see what happens, and I like cherish this book. I love it and don't know why more people are not talking about this, or not yet anyway, but I do think this is going to be, or maybe is becoming, a really popular book, but it is for the weirdest sound. I don't know where that came from. But yeah, I cannot wait for the second book. We don't have a release date yet. I know this is new, but I cherish this book. It was so good, and I just didn't want it to end. 5 stars, would 100% recommend. The next book that I read was A Court of Silver Flames. I gave in. I did not want to read this book. I have avoided this book for so long. Honestly, after The Court of Wings and Ruin was that blue book, The Court of like Frost and something, and that book was so bad. I thought it was awful. So I did not want to continue this series, and I also don't like Nesta, which I don't think we're supposed to, but I really didn't care to read about her story. I also heard that this book is kind of a lot, but I missed the world. I missed our main characters, and I wanted to be back in that world with them. And when I started reading this book, I felt like sad and happy, and it was like coming home, which sounds super corny, but I felt really happy to be back in this world, even though I didn't really care for this book very much, if that makes sense. Their love story is not my favorite. I know people on TikTok are like, oh, Cassian totally beats like Raysan and like, I hope I'm saying his name right. And that like they like them better than like our original love story. I totally disagree. I don't care for their love story very much. I prefer book 2 over this book 100%. And it was just too much. Like, this book could have been way shorter. And I just read it again to be back in that world, not for these characters, and I just think it was a lot. I gave it 3 stars. I probably would have given it 2 had I not also heard from our original characters. Like, had they not been a part of the book, I would have probably given it a 2. But I did want to read it because I know the series is going to continue, and I hope we like leave them and go back to other characters, but we'll see. I had to read it. I had to continue the series. The next book that I read was Project Hail Mary. This book was so cool. I enjoyed this book a lot. This is sci-fi, high stakes, saving the world, a lot of science. It's so different to anything I've read. I enjoyed the fact that there was no romance after having some books that were heavy romance. I like that it was a standalone book as well, because a lot of these are series. All of these are series. So I liked having a little bit of a break and just like a standalone book. And the really cool like friendship bond that happens within the book, like I really enjoyed that. It was a very intense book, but for some reason I found this book really relaxing. Maybe it was all of the science talk that I did not understand, but I don't know, space and like, it was just really relaxing. A lot of this book I just had to accept, or maybe not a lot, but there were parts of this book I had to accept that what they were talking about I didn't understand, went over my head. I tried to like go back and try to understand things, and I was like, okay, I'm not a scientist, I'm not an astronaut. I'm not gonna get that. I think we just have to accept that and just continue with the story. I like that it does time jump. It goes from like present time to the past, and like things are being revealed throughout the book, and you're like starting to understand more. I don't want to say anything to spoil it, but I did like the time jumping. I think this is going to be one of those books that really sticks with me, that you like think about even, you know, months, years after you've read it, because I feel like I don't know, the stuff that was talked about within the book, end of the world, I don't know, it was heavy in some ways, or I guess in a lot of ways. Saving the earth, you know, climate change, all that stuff that was talked about really like sticks with you. And it was like kind of dark as well. Well, it was pretty dark. But I heard that they're making a movie out of this book with Ryan Gosling. I don't know if that's true, but I saw that on TikTok. And I didn't know that the author, Andy Weir, he wrote The Martian, which is now a movie. So I thought that was really cool, and I haven't seen that. I might read the book. And there's another book, Artemis, I think. I'm interested to read more of his stuff because I liked this so much, and I'm assuming those are also very sci-fi, or I know that they're sci-fi, but science-y and cool like this. But yeah, I gave it 5 stars. I really liked it. It's also like the coolest cover. I've seen this cover in stores for a while and always thought like, oh, that looks cool, but didn't know what it was about and just never picked it up. And then I'm really, really glad I did. The last book that I read was a spontaneous read. I kind of thought that this would be cool for February because there's a heart on the front. But I did read LIGHTLARK. I heard good things about this book. I heard mixed things about this book. Like, some people really loved it. Some people had similar opinions to what I felt about this book. I enjoyed it. It was fun. It was a fun read. It was really easy to read too. I gave it a 4. I would have rated it maybe a 4.5, possibly a 5, but I do think that this book is kind of confusing. I think there are plot holes within this book. I didn't really understand the games. Like, I know, I like heard that this is kind of compared to like the Hunger Games, but like all on an island. I disagree with that very much. I thought that there would be more like competition within the book, and there is some, but I don't understand what's happening in between those few competitions. Like, they're on the island for 100 days and stuff is happening with our main characters within that 100 days, but what is everyone else doing? I didn't understand that. It's like, I feel like they're on like this really important mission and everyone else is just like hanging out. I didn't understand that. I liked the different powers, like they're kind of like elemental powers, kind of. The characters were fun. I did feel a little lost, which I know I'm not alone in because other people have said that it was just kind of confusing. But I heard the second book was better, so that's why I read the first, because I wanted to read the second, and I can already say the second book is better. I like the second book a lot. I'm gonna finish it tonight. And I did get it in hardback because look at this, it's so pretty. And like the second one is the same foil letters, but in blue. It's even prettier. I didn't realize how pretty like the naked book is, but I just had a feeling I was gonna like this series. Like, I thought it would be a fun, kind of easy read, and it is. It's fun. So I gave it 4. I can predict the second being 5 stars though, but we'll see. I need to finish it. I need to see what happens. So this is my reading stack. I read 4 super good books this month. It was a good reading month. And then just 2 books that were just too heavy on the romance and just kind of whatever. But I had a very successful February, and I mean, some of these are chunky. Thanks for hanging out with me while I talk about my February reads. Stay tuned for March, and for the rest of the year, I'm going to be doing videos every month on the books that I read. That one's glaring. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.